You're watching dark crimes with a more where the creepy gets real. Like, comment what time you're watching and where you're from, and let's dive into the dark.
They say finders keepers, losers, weepers, but nobody warns you what happens when the thing you find wasn't ever meant to be found. I didn't steal it. I picked it up off the sidewalk, but ever since something's been following me, and it doesn't care about keeping. It just wants me to lose everything. I was walking home from work. Nothing unusual, just me, my headphones, and the cracked sidewalk between Hilltop and Hawthorne. It's one of those stretches where every porch light flickers, every mailbox leans, and every for sale sign is just wishful thinking. That's when I saw it. A velvet pouch, rich red, tied with fraying gold string, lying on the pavement next to a knocked over trash bin. I should have kept walking, but something about it whispered, "Pick me up." It was cold to the touch, heavy. I expected jewelry, but inside was just a small bone key. No engravings, just old, smooth. I glanced around. No one, no security camera. My fingers curled around it without thinking. Finders keepers, right? That night, my apartment felt wrong. I locked the door behind me, double checked it like I always do, but the hallway light flickered, faster than usual. Then the power dipped. I placed the key on my nightstand. The second I turned away, clink, it hit the ground by itself. I know I didn't bump the table. I picked it up again, placed it in a drawer, and shut it. 10 minutes later, my hallway closet started rattling. I froze. "I don't have a pet," I said out loud, as if saying it would make this logical. I opened the closet slowly. Nothing inside, until I looked up. A faint handprint on the ceiling. Small, like a child's. The next morning, everything looked normal. Except now, there was a new door at the end of my hallway. I live in a 2-bedroom. I know every inch of it. But this door? Pale blue, with peeling paint and a bone-shaped keyhole. I didn't touch it. Not yet. I went to work, but every reflective surface I passed, storefronts, rearview mirrors, I saw someone behind me, sometimes crouching, sometimes standing. That night, I gave in. Curiosity, stupidity, a little of both. I took the bone key from my drawer. It was warm now, too warm, like it had a pulse. The moment it slid into the lock, I heard a child giggling. I opened the door. Nothing inside but stairs leading down, way down. I should have run. Instead, I stepped in. The door slammed shut behind me. The steps led to a narrow hallway of rotting wallpaper and smeared red crayon drawings of stick figures with black holes for eyes. A small radio sat on the ground, playing soft music, Ring Around the Rosie. But the voices were distorted, like more than one child was singing, some slower, some backwards. Then the singing stopped. Sudden wham, something darted across the hall, crawling on all fours. Its arms were too long, its back hunched, its head turned completely around as it stared at me. "You took what was mine." It smiled with no teeth, just dark gums and a swollen tongue. I ran. I burst through a door into what looked like a nursery, but everything was wrong. Rocking horses rocked by themselves. Cribs were filled with piles of dirt, and the mobile above spun faster and faster until it snapped off and slammed into the wall next to my head. I turned toward the closet. The door creaked open by itself. Inside was a mirror, but not again. But this wasn't a reflection of me. It showed a version of my apartment, but trashed, vandalized with handprints and messages scrawled in red. "Give it back. Not yours." She waits in the walls. I reached out to touch it. A hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. I finally escaped the mirror, but not back into my apartment. Instead, I was in a crawl space, dusty, tight, full of old toys, and something humming softly. That's when I saw her. A girl, maybe 7 p.m., hair matted. She was curled up, holding an identical red pouch. She looked up. "You found mine," she whispered. "So now I get to keep something of yours." Her eyes rolled back, and the walls began closing in. I scrambled forward and found another door, this one barely large enough to squeeze through. I slammed it behind me. I was back in my apartment. Everything looked normal, except for the velvet pouch sitting neatly on my pillow. The key inside now had a new shape carved into it. A face. My face. Then my phone rang. It was my own number. When I picked up, a child's voice whispered,
"Finders keepers."
Click. I ran to throw the key out the window, but the glass wouldn't break. I opened the front door to leave, and the hallway was gone, just darkness. And slowly, emerging from it, that same thing, crawling, mouth wide, limbs cracking. It stopped inches from me, held out a pouch. This time, my name was stitched on the side. In the corner of the apartment sits a second velvet pouch, another key, waiting, because whoever finds it next gets kept. I never wanted to come back to Georgia, not after my grandma passed, and definitely not alone. But when her lawyer called, talking about a will, about some land left in my name, I couldn't ignore it. It was late October, the air thick with that musty, dying summer smell, when I pulled up to the old farmhouse. The place looked abandoned, porch sagging, windows crusted with grime. The front door opened with a sound like bones cracking. Inside, the house was dark and cold, dust motes thick in the slanting light. I moved from room to room, flicking on lights that barely worked. There were boxes stacked everywhere, my grandma's things, untouched for years. The only place that felt strange was the back hallway. The air there pressed down on me, heavy and wet. I froze. Was that footsteps above me? I called out, "Hello?" But I was sure I heard something moving, dragging, slow. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing things, the wind rattling the old glass, a scurrying in the attic. At 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of whispering. It sounded like it was coming from beneath the floor. I pressed my ear to the old boards, scratching, whispering. Then, clear as day, "Go. Away." I jumped up, heart pounding. But when I grabbed a flashlight and checked the crawl space, it was empty, just dirt and broken beams. The next morning, I explored the orchard. The trees grew in rows, but at the far end, there was a bare patch of earth. No grass, no weeds, just cracked, sun-bleached dirt. I heard something like a giggle. Turning, I saw nothing, just rows of trees shifting in the breeze. But the air grew colder as I stepped into the patch. My phone rang. It was a blocked number. I answered, but all I heard was static. And then, a woman's voice. "Don't dig. Please." Back inside, I noticed the basement door was cracked open. I knew I'd left it closed. Something banged the door from the inside. Hard. I screamed and stumbled back as the knob rattled, like someone, or something, was trying to get out. But after a minute, the house went dead silent. I couldn't stop thinking about that voice, that bare patch. At dusk, I grabbed a shovel and went to the orchard. I dug, shallow at first, but a few feet down, I hit something solid. A box. Not a coffin, just an old wooden crate sealed shut with rusty nails. When I pried it open, the inside was empty, except for a handful of old yellow dolls. But the air changed, grew thick and freezing. I heard footsteps racing behind me, too many, like a stampede. I spun, but saw nothing. That night, the house came alive, I heard footsteps on the stairs, knocks on the walls, something pacing under the floor. Every window showed only darkness, like the orchard had disappeared. At one point, my bedroom door creaked open. A voice whispered from the hallway, "You shouldn't have opened it." I hid under the covers, shaking. Suddenly, my bed lurched sideways, slamming me against the wall. Something unseen yanked me onto the floor. I clawed at the boards, and as I looked up, I saw faint shapes. Children, dozens of them, their eyes black and hollow, ringing the bed. They reached for me, chanting, "Put it back, put it back." I broke free and ran, tripping down the stairs and into the orchard. The bare patch of earth was gone. Grass had grown back as if I'd never dug at all. I stared at my dirt-stained hands, trembling. My phone rang again. This time, the voice was my grandma's. "Child, you should never have come back. Some things must stay buried." I raced to my car, desperate to escape. But as I reached the road, the landscape changed. The trees, the sky, everything blurred, twisted. Suddenly, I was back in the house, standing in the back hallway, staring at the closed basement door. No matter what I did, I couldn't leave. It hit me. I'd never left the orchard. I was trapped, just like the voices beneath the floor. Just another secret, waiting for someone else to dig me up. I should have known something was off the minute I saw his shoes. They were too clean, blinding white, like he'd never stepped in dirt, let alone lived a real life. Everything else about him, his photo, his profile, his confident messages, made him seem like the real deal. A tech startup guy, smart, sarcastic, a little mysterious. He messaged me first, said he liked my smile and the fact that I listed watching forensic documentaries as a hobby. Of course, I swooned. His name was Ian. And for the first 3 weeks, he felt like a dream. We had dinner at this little Thai place off 4th. He was charming. He asked questions and actually listened. He didn't look at his phone once. He opened doors. He remembered that I hate cilantro. And when we kissed goodnight, it wasn't rushed. It was perfect. I ignored the weird things, like how he never let me come to his place, or how his phone would vibrate and he'd flip it face down like it burned him. He said he had a crazy ex. That's why he was private. But then came the box. It showed up outside my door. No label. Just a small cardboard box with masking tape across the top. Inside, a single lemon yellow post-it note. It said, "He's not who you think he is. Check the basement." No return address. No explanation. I didn't even have a basement. So naturally, I told Ian, and his reaction, too calm. He shrugged and said someone was probably messing with me. He laughed it off like a prank. Except, the next day, my neighbor, Mrs. Castillo, was found dead in her house. Blunt force trauma. And guess what they found in her basement? More post-its, hundreds of them. Some stuck to the ceiling, some torn in half, all with the same handwriting. I didn't sleep that night, not because of the death, but because something about that handwriting looked familiar. 2 weeks later, everything spiraled. Ian wanted to take a weekend trip. Somewhere off the grid, he said. He booked a remote cabin upstate, no Wi-Fi, no signal. It'll be peaceful. I agreed, because by that point I was obsessed with him, with the mystery, with the post-its. So, I started digging, and the night before the trip, I followed him. He left work around 6 p.m. I tailed him. Cheap rental car, sunglasses, hoodie. I was that level of crazy now. He didn't go home. He didn't go to the gym like he said. He went to a storage unit in an industrial complex off the highway. I parked and waited. 30 minutes later, he came out carrying something wrapped in tarp. He shoved it in his trunk, glanced around like he was checking for witnesses, like he'd done it before. I took pictures. My hands were shaking. I should have driven away. I should have called the cops. But instead, I followed him back to his place. Yes, he finally went home. And I watched through binoculars as he brought that tarp-wrapped thing inside. I thought I saw a hand. I told myself it was a mannequin. The cabin weekend was off. He was quiet. No more jokes. He kept checking the woods, jumping at sounds. He barely ate. Kept asking if I was happy, if I trusted him. And on the second night, I found a door in the floor of the bedroom closet. Trap door. Heavy latch. Guess what was inside? More post-its. And a shoe. Just one. A white sneaker. Exactly like Ian's. Only this one had blood on it. Dried, crusted, soaked into the fabric. That's when I knew I wasn't the first. That night, I faked sleep and waited. And at 3:14 a.m., he stood over me holding a hammer. I ran, sprinted into the woods barefoot, branches slicing my arms and legs. I made it to the road, flagged down a pickup truck, and told the driver everything. They called the police, they raided the cabin, and Ian, he vanished, just gone. But they did find a body under the floorboards. Female, mid-30s, decomposed, and a whole shoebox of post-it notes, each one with different names, dates, messages like, "You'll be next." He never forgets. He lied to you too. 3 months later, I moved to a new apartment across town, changed my number, started therapy, tried to forget. And then, last week, I got a package. Cardboard. No return address. Tape shut. Inside, a single white sneaker, my size, and a post-it. It said, "You should have let me explain."